Some people are born not particularly smart, not particularly industrious, not particularly charming, not particularly, and I go down the rest of the list. They're below average in everything. I have in the past occasionally gotten booed in college campuses for saying that 50% of the population is below average in intelligence. But the fact is, it's true. It's true. And that people who have gotten the short end of the stick in those senses ought to have access to a satisfying life just as much as everybody else. That's what, to me, is the real meaning of equality of human dignity. The question then becomes, well, what important things do they spend their time on? And the answer is that they don't have a lot of choices, but the choices they do have are every bit as good as the ones available to the rest of us, and they involve family and community. In fact, I will say parenthetically that as one gets older, I think a general phenomenon is that the satisfactions associated with family and community tend to loom larger for those of us who spent our younger years working 90 hours a week at our job. But I will pass over that. The satisfactions of family and community are deep and real and meaningful for everybody. That means that one of the central measures of the success of social policy is the extent to which those institutions are vital, filled with stuff that they can do. And here comes my complaint about the welfare state. It is not that it spends too much money, though it does. It is not that it spends it ineffectually, though it does. It is not even that it often creates more problems than it solves, though it does. The real problem is that the welfare state drains too much of the life from life. I'm referring here to the stuff of life. And by stuff of life, I mean the elemental stuff, the things involving birth and death and raising children and paying the rent, the things that involve celebrating with the people around you when good things happen and commiserating with them when bad things happen. It involves all the ways in which friendships become more than just social pleasantries and become deep. It involves all the ways in which being a parent is not just biologically siring another human being, but becoming intimately involved with their lives. It involves all the ways in which the stuff of life is, to borrow the title of the book, in our hands. Those people who live in the top part of society pretty much have exactly the same situation with regard to family as they've always had, which is to say there is no government program involving the family that has the slightest effect on anything I do with regard to my kids. There are lots and lots of ways that what the government does takes a lot of the functions involved with parenting and so forth in lower income communities and does take some of the stuff of life out of that. As far as community is concerned, people in the upper part of society, their communities are defined in very strange ways. So Sheldon Danziger, even though I don't see him very often, is part of my community, my professional community. My community is scattered out all over the world, actually, as are my friendships and my networks and so forth. The physical community in which I live isn't that big a deal. But for most people, it is. The physical geographic community in which they live and those particular people constitute a great deal of what makes up the world that matters to them. So it's really important that the community have important things to do. Once again, the problem with the welfare state is it takes so many of the functions of community and says, we'll take care of that. And in the process of doing that, guess what? We let them. And it's a very natural human reaction. If somebody comes to the door and says, will you come out and feed the hungry? And I ask, well, if I don't do it, who will? And the answer is, well, we've got a $25 billion food stamp program. I say, go ahead and use the food stamp program. If somebody comes to my front door and says, will you help us go feed the hungry? And if you don't do it, no one will. I'm a lot more apt to respond. It's also a matter of the locality of it. If I am told that the person in my neighborhood needs food, the chances that I will respond is 100%. If I am told that there is a food bank being run by my church or by another local organizational community, the chances that I will help are just about 100%. If it's a system of food kitchens for the homeless for the Mid-Atlantic area, I'm less likely to help, even though I might. And again, if it's voluntarily contributing my taxes, extra money on top of my taxes, the food stamp program, the probability is 0. A great deal has to do with how close the problems are to home. So the combination of, is the responsibility put on our heads, is the problem local, and if I act, will I make any difference? All of these are absolutely crucial to the extent to which we become engaged in our communities. And in all of these ways, the welfare state strips too much of the life from life. What the plan does, in a way that I think would transform civil society, is to take all of those functions, remove them from the bureaucracies, and put them back out in communities and with families. It's a kind of thing which does not lend itself to multivariate analysis. I mean, you can do a little bit. You can look at the displacement of philanthropic activities when government programs come into an arena, and there is some econometrics which has dealt with those issues. There are other ways in which you can take bits and pieces of this problem and get some sense of what the vectors of the relationships are and maybe even their magnitude. But I've really been talking to you about issues which, by and large, do not go to the nuts and bolts and the tools of the trade that we use, but rather go to our sense of the way the world ought to work. And I imagine that in all of this, no, I can barely imagine all the ways in which people in the audience are mentally disagreeing with me. I'm sure there are many. But if you've taken anything at all away from this presentation, I hope it is the necessity of thinking about what it is that you think goes into living a meaningful human life, and how it is that those resources are to be made available to everyone, and the relationship between civil society and the government in that process. Here in summation is the way I look at it. I think government is inherently incompetent. It's not because bureaucrats are lazy. It's because of the nature of what happens when people are able to act in ways without eliciting the voluntary cooperation of others. Even if you take the most basic functions of government, providing for a legal system, for enforcement of laws so that people don't harm each other, for national defense, even those most basic of tasks, the number of nations that have managed to do those well is remarkably small. And the number that have managed to do it well over a long period of time in a democratic context is smaller still. And those are the most basic of all. As soon as governments move into trying to deal with more complex human needs, they get over their heads really rapidly. And again, the reasons are inherent and not susceptible to manipulation by clever social policy. Bureaucracies, by their very nature, must be bound by rules that are applied to everyone, and the ability to tailor those is very small. So a bureaucracy does not have it within its power when it's providing help to somebody in trouble of saying, this person really needs a pat in the back and this person really needs a kick in the pants, even though we all know that some people will fall in both of those categories. Bureaucracy cannot do that. Indeed, I'm told by social democrats that's a great virtue of doing these kinds of services through bureaucracies, because bureaucracies are not in a position to stigmatize. And I say, no. That when you're dealing with complex human needs, it has to be as individually tailored as possible, and that can only be done at a retail basis, not a wholesale basis. So bureaucracies are, by their nature, in my view, unable to deal effectively with complex human needs around them. But they can displace the efforts of other people to do that. This limited competence of government, or the inherent incompetence of government in dealing with these problems, is still not an issue that has been settled. I have been doing my very best to contribute to one side of it, first with Losing Ground and subsequently with other of my work. But I think that history is on my side in this regard. And it goes back to this point, that when you don't have to get the voluntary cooperation of someone else, when you can use the police power of the state to enforce your will, you are automatically prevented from engaging in the kind of interactions that you have to engage in if you don't have the police power on your side.